What up, y'all? It's your boy, One Sir Grove. This is the 141st episode of Casting 495 Celebrities Worldwide. Hope that you're having a pleasant day, night, evening, midday, midnight, dusk, dawn, wherever you are in the world. Yo, what's good? So yeah, man, the reason I got into podcasting is because I had people telling me, man, they're like, you need to do radio, dude. Like, for real. And I was like, come on, man, quit playing. And they're like, no, for real. And then after I heard it, man, from a couple dozen people, I was like, maybe I should do fucking radio. I mean, honestly, dude, it's true. Like, people were saying that to me, and I was like, nah, dude, I'm not trying to do radio, man. Fuck radio. Like, radio's stupid. And they're like, nah, man, nah. Like, you should fucking really do it. So anyway, man, it's absolutely true. And I was like, well, fuck, man. Let me just give the podcast thing a try. Because, man, I was going to fucking do it anyway. Like, I'd been doing podcasts essentially with other folks on different programs that I've been on. So I've already been on other shows that were turned into podcasts. So technically, I had been podcasting. But in terms of starting my own podcast with my homeboys from 495, I was like, well, people have been telling me, man, to do the radio thing. So fuck it, I guess now's the time to do it. And because the last person, man, to tell me that, man, you should do that she was like, I just kind of met this person randomly, and she was like, hey, are you into audiobooks? We were just having a random conversation. I can't remember exactly what we were talking about. Someone that I met in New York, just fucking, just randomly, and we had a conversation about something, and she was like, you know what? You should do audiobooks. And I was like, what? And she was like, and I didn't tell her that I have an audiobook, but she was like, you should do audiobooks. And I was like, who, me? Like, why? And she's like, dude, you totally have a voice for it. She was like, do you do audiobooks? And I was like, no, because I wasn't going to be like, yeah, I actually have one. But I was like, no, not at all. She's like, you really fucking should. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll consider it. She's like, no, listen, you need to do audiobooks. And I was like, well, why is that? Like, why do you think so? And she was like, because this is what she's saying. She was like, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. And she's like, do you listen to audiobooks? And I was like, I mean, I've heard some, I've not in their entirety, but I mean, yeah, I've listened to some, audiobooks, yes. But not like audibles or anything like in the modern sense of it all, but I used to listen to recorded books, and I've skimmed, i.e. scanned through some, audibles and audiobooks. And so, yeah, I mean, I've listened to some of them, in parts, and she's like, yeah, well, I'm really into them. And there are a lot of like crappy, narrators. And I was like, really? Because I was astonished by that. I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, totally. Like, there's just something about the industry. Like, there are a lot of people doing it, and the ones who do it, like, a lot of them are crappy. Like, just the way they narrate, like, they don't do it the way I think they ought to be doing it. And I think people, not just myself, not just me, like, other people know that. And there's a need in the industry for people who can do it well. And she's like, and I know you could do it well. And I was like, all right, I'll definitely take that into consideration. I was like, yo, I'll definitely consider that. And thank you so much for that compliment. And I was like, yeah, no, I was like, no, for real. Like, thank you for the compliment. Like, that's cool. I'll definitely like consider that. And maybe one day just, give it a go and see if I can do a podcast or, narrate a book or whatever. And, so yeah, man, and when I first conceived of the idea for this podcast, I rapped with my homies about it. We spoke about it. We discussed it. And I was like, yo, dogs, I'm about to release this podcast, man. I'm gonna debut the podcast. Like, it's gonna get done. Like, I'm gonna get her done. We're gonna do it. And they're like, for real? And I was like, yeah, it's about to launch. And then I talked about it for like a week, and then I just did it. I found a platform to launch on, and I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. And so I did it, man, because I had other people that I knew in my network from like coast to coast, and they'd been talking about doing podcasts, and I was like, yo man, fuck talking about it, just do it, homie. Like, you know what I mean? And I come from a background where people that I work with have been in and out of studios for like more than 25 years, professional recording studios and whatnot. And then when my homies and we moved out into the world from the, city that we're from, the little town, little country town, just being in different parts of the United States, we all have our own sound labs and with our own sound laboratory recording software wares. And so my style, my whole shtick is that, and as I've explained, I wanted to do something completely, totally fucking different because I analyzed a lot of these podcasts and different presentations for many years, literally for many, many years. And I've listened to fucking a lot of audio content, man. And I've heard a lot of, dude, I listen to fucking commentary on YouTube. I had Sirius XM for a while and for like 2 years. And I used to listen to a lot of talk radio, news, broadcasts, analyses, commentators, fucking political analysts, people in the realm of international relations, international affairs. And I also know diplomats, man. I know people who work for foreign governments and embassies and different nations around the world. And so, man, knowing VIPs and dignitaries and people of that nature, I was like, yo, man, I'm going to launch this totally outrageous fucking podcast. It's going to be 100% different from how other folks do it. And I'm not going to get into mixing it down. I'm not going to waste any because I did that with another show that I was on. I would spend hours mixing down the material, the content, and it was painstaking, dude, and it was grueling. And I was like, but that's how that was for that particular show, which it worked for what it did. And, we got views and actually started to make money doing that. But this program, because it's urban music, focused in a lot of different ways, it's got a hip hop bent, slant to it. It's kind of like an urban, music rap thing that I do, coupled with, politics, international affairs, fucking science and technology. You don't really hear me talk too much about sports, but I do root for the Giants. I like the Redskins. I hope that they fucking do something good in the future, and that they get better management, because everyone I've talked to 99% of the time has been like, that's been the issue, Dan Snyder. And I'm just saying, that's what I hear from like thousands of people, whether it's true or not. But man, yeah, they've just been fucking up hard for years, man. But the Seahawks did too. The Seahawks, they fucking sucked for a long time, man. And then they pulled their heads up out their asses, man, and they fucking won the Super Bowl. And I see that happening, man. I really do. Like, I know the Redskins can do it. But man, I'm a New York Giants fan now, and have been for some time. And so that's the roster that I pay attention to the most, and that I support and I root for. And when I was growing up, man, I used to tell people, I used to watch or I have told people what I meant, that what I used to do is I'd watch Saturday morning cartoons at the crack of dawn. I'd get up in my pajamas, and I'd be in front of the TV, glued to the tube, and have my PJs on. I'll just be chilling, watching cartoons like from sun up until the afternoon. And then in the afternoon, back in the 70s, going into the 80s, it was all fucking sports for the rest of the day. And so I'll just be watching sports, man, like fucking documentaries, like the old school shit, about everybody who was anybody ever, Montana, fucking Jordan, man, anybody like who was ever anybody in the world of fucking sports. And I just, man, if golf, swimming, fucking gymnastics, track and field, triathlons, decathlons, like the Olympics, shit, bro, like any fucking thing that had to do with sports that came on TV, I saw all that shit back then. And I played sports too, man. So I've talked about that in other podcasts. So I guess I do talk about sports a little bit, man. I talk about my background in sports. Teams, man, I used to rock a lot of teams, man, when I was a kid. Fucking, I used to have a Georgetown Hoyas parka in high school, and I took a red Magnum 44 pen that taggers would use to like tag on walls and write shit on like walls in public spaces. And anyway, man, I redded out the eyes. In other words, I daubed the eyes with this pen and like penned in the Georgetown Hoyas mascot's eyes, fucking bloodshot red. And I used to walk around with my parka on, and Georgetown colors blue, right? And like a navy blue. And so and I'm on the West Coast at the time when I did this, man, when I was rocking this Georgetown, because it's got a G on it and I'm gifted, you know what I'm saying? So I'm rocking the Hoyas parka, one of the many different parkas that I had, and athletic gear. And I people were like, yo, where the fuck did you get that? Because I was quite artistic back in the day, man. I was like, what you mean? They're like, did you buy it like that? And I was like, buy what? They're like, dude, how are the eyes red on your parka? I've never seen one like that before. And I was like, oh, I don't know, man. And I was like, nah, I'm fucking with you. Yeah, man. They're like, dude, that's crazy. Like, that's weird looking, and that shit is wicked. And I was like, man, thanks. I'm glad you like that. So I used to rock Hoyas. I rocked White Sox. My boy Scoot and I, and 495 Deep in Everett, man, we rock fucking White Sox. What else did we have, man? My homies, we had all kinds of gear. Like, I had a homeboy, he used to rock the Clippers gear, Spurs gear. The homie Scoot, also, he used to rock Sox and Spurs. It's true shit. I used to have also back out west. I had I had Eagles gear, man. Color green is one of the colors that my crew, we wear in addition to like red, burgundy, you know what I'm saying? And brown sometimes. But yeah, man, I used to rock the Eagles fucking gear. I had a lot of different Eagles shits. But yeah, for real though, man, I used to rock Eagles gear, man, back in the 1990s, believe it or not. That's a true story. And man, I really liked their gear back in the day, man. That deep green that they had, and so I'd rock that. And I also had Seattle Seahawks. I had Seattle Sonics gear, way back in the day, man. If I still had this, man, this shit would be worth money. I had some Mariners gear, like from the Mariners. I got it when I was at a Mariners game. I met with the security group. I was a kid, and I was at this event, and they gave me a jersey, believe it or not, man. And that fucking jersey, dude, that shit would be worth a fortune if I still had it. I don't know, maybe I got it in storage somewhere, man. But I doubt it. I probably just like lost it on a playing field or some shit when I was a kid playing with fucking kids in the neighborhood. But yo, that fucking was an original like OG like Mariners jersey that I was given back in shit. I must have been about 5 years old. So back in shit, maybe even younger, man. It might have been the late 70s. I'm pretty sure it had to have been the fucking early 80s. Yeah, it had to have been the early 80s. But yo, man, fucking I also used to rock Raiders gear, and LA and Oakland. I got some official Oakland Raiders gear. I've talked about this before. When I was in California, when I lived in the Oakland Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland Bay Area, I went to the Oakland Raiders store downtown Oakland, the little Raiders gear shop, and got some authentic Raiders gear. I got the Oakland Raiders ball cap that was corduroy. I've talked about this many times. I used to wear G-Nikes too, man, the Nike Cortez. So I got an OG that is original Oakland Raiders ball cap that I that I then took to the Pacific Northwest. And they was like, yo, where'd you get that? And I was like, yo, I got this in Oakland. And they was like, dude, that is fresh. I used to rock that corduroy. I said corduroy black Oakland Raiders ball cap. And dude, that shit was so dope. I rocked that junk for years. In addition to my other gear that I had. See, I used to rock the Adidas shell toes, the Phantoms, the Adidas Phantoms, the Adidas. My crew, my whole crew, we all had the Adidas Phantoms. And so we rocked that. And then in terms of different teams, I said the Sonics, I said the Mariners. What else was I rocking back in the day, man? LA Raiders, Oakland Raiders, who, by the way, if y'all didn't know, are the Vegas Raiders now. In fact, I was just reading about the Vegas Raiders, man. Congratulations to the Vegas Raiders, man, and their new stadium. Last time I was looking at the data online, they were I'm not in front of a computer right now. This is just from memory. But well, I guess, my device is a computer, but I'm saying I'm not in front of a desktop computer. But the last time I looked up the info, the Raiders were they were awaiting the building of their new stadium. Something about, and don't quote me on any of this, because I don't know how accurate it is, $2 billion roughly. And the stadium I was seeing, I thought it was 2020, but then when I went back and read it the second time, it was saying that the Vegas Raiders could start playing as early as 2019. Come football season. So I was like, dang. Because, man, that's a trip, bro. Growing up with the Oakland and LA Raiders, now they're the Vegas Raiders. Some people were like, yo, man, they're going to lose fans. And I'm like, I don't really think so, man. Like, not as many as people think, because they're still the fucking Raiders, man. And proximity from California to Vegas is just hop, skip, jump. I mean, they're still going to be diehard fucking Raiders fans, man, regardless. That's my opinion. And how it actually plays out, we'll see. But I think, man, that people who are fans of the Raiders, they'll enjoy that, man. I used to, there's a former Raiders football player who I used to party with and whatnot. I actually was doing some personal security for him. I was a bodyguard for that person for a while. A lot of people don't know that about me. But yeah, man, I used to do that. And with my crew 495, I actually asked for the job. And he had an injury. And I won't go into details because then, people would know who it was. But yeah, man, I used to be a bodyguard, a private personal bodyguard for that gentleman. And he used to roll with my crew, man. We used to party and kick it on a nightly fucking basis, man, for a couple of straight years and whatnot. And as far as I know, my crew is still connected to dude. And yeah, man, I knew a lot of people that played sports, as I've talked about in my different podcasts, people who have been in different bowls and whatnot, and wear rings, and they won fucking, they won championships, man, and they did well in sports. Buddy from my neighborhood, he played in the European Basketball League. I've talked about that before. I ran track and field. That was my sport in addition to gymnastics. So I follow a lot of teams, man. I keep up on them, man. I check out the stats. I listen to the different critiques and reviews and analyses, man, here and there. I'm not as much into it as I used to be. But man, I've been checking rosters and I've been checking stats here and there and hearing about drafts and draft picks and different updates and what have you from Major League Baseball, NFL, and NBA. And I heard, like, I was mind blown when I heard that a person could no longer go directly to NBA from high school and that they had to play for a year college before they could be accepted into the NBA when that rule changed. I don't know how accurate it is, but I've heard that that the NBA is doing away with that rule. I don't know if that's true. I have no idea if that's true or not. That could be totally inaccurate and incorrect. But someone who purported to know a little little thing or two about sports was like, yeah, that rule was in effect for a while, which I had heard of it from another source some many iterations times ago. And then but then after hearing that from so many people who were like, man, there's a new thing where you got to go into, and I was like, yeah, I heard that. Well, then somebody stepped forward and was like, yo, yeah, man, that's been the case for a while now, but they're gonna do away with that again. And I was like, oh, for real? So I don't know if that person is true, if that information is true and that person knew what she was talking about. But I mean, I guess I could just look it up, Google it and shit. Just Google it. But yeah, man. So I guess I do talk a little bit about sports, a little bit about gear, fashion. Not so much fashion, just old school retro. Athletic gear, I guess, is what I've kind of touched upon with the show. Talk about different artists, man. The Migos, talked about them dudes, sucker MCs. Man, in fact, you know what? There's this female, this woman, young woman. She got a show. Now that I think about it, I want to talk about this, man. I want to talk about this. She's on YouTube, right? And I can't remember her name. Is it Nika? Niche, Niki, something like that, man. I just remember there being an N as in November, and I thought there was a C, Charlie Hotel Echo, something like that. She got this video, man, where she's doing this analysis about Bone Thugs and Harmony versus Migos, and she goes on to say, at first I thought, I was giving Bone credit, but then after like kind of second thought, I was like, yo, man, what the fuck is she talking about, man? Like, come on, man. Like these younger generation folks who be talking about, but upon second thought, Bone is acting sideways and this and that. Come on, man. I do not share your opinion. I have not come to that conclusion that you've come to. That's your conclusion. I've come to another different conclusion. Man, first of all, as I've talked about before, Bone Thugs and Harmony is ultra legendary. Migos is a shitty, whack as fuck, wannabe fucking rap group. Those dudes are garbage. And they will never in space-time ever be anything close to what Bone Thugs and Harmony is. Ever. Never, ever. And it is so fucking apparent and so clear in my mind's eye that what I have just stated is absolutely 100 fucking percent true. Migos will never even scratch the surface of what Bone Thugs and Harmony did. Okay? Not even fucking comparable, man. We're talking apples and oranges in terms of, so-called comparison. Man, fucking Migos, dude, they're weak as fuck, dude. Like, to this new generation that doesn't understand what hip-hop is, what real hip-hop is, what real hip-hop/rap is, auto-tune is not rap. Period. It is not fucking rap music. What Migos is doing is not fucking rap music. In the context of what Bone Thugs and Harmony was doing in the music industry with urban hip-hop rap music. Migos is some other shit, okay? It's not even it's incomparable. They're on some fucking wacky shit, okay? Their shit, the Migos shit, sounds stupid. It's wacky. It's fucking silly. Not in a funny, good way. In a pathetic, dehumanizing, degenerative, fucking denigrating way. They're trash. Okay? Absolute, utter rubbish, filth, trash. And I'm not saying filth is in they're filthy like they're dope. They're not dope. They're fucking non-dope. And, yo, man. So, because these post-millennials, these 21 and over now folks who are reading into this thing, the Migos, versus Bone Thugs and vice versa, they have no frame of fucking reference largely for what hip-hop rap really was and fucking will always be. So when they see some Jake-made fucking group like Migos purporting to be hip hop rap, like, hey, one of the Migos, fucking, walkie talkie, all that shit. Dude, these people with their pom poms, they cheer for these fucking auto tuners, man, as if the auto tuners are actually slick, like they're actually fresh, like they're actually good, like they actually do some artistry and some art and some music and some shit that's deaf, but they're not doing any of that shit. It's sad, man. It's sad and it's pathetic and it's pitiful that these post millennials, they have no real frame of reference for what real hip hop rap is. Because if they did, they would never be making statements like she made regarding the beef between the two groups. One being a rap group, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and the other being an auto-tune buffoonery stoogery group. So yeah, dude, Bone Thugs and Harmony stood their ground, stood firmly, and spoke intelligently about the issue. And Migos, on the other hand, said some disrespectful fucking stupid shit, just like that stupid shit that Soulja Boy was talking about Ice-T when he was fucking saying sideways bullshit about Ice-T and Ice-T's son. I've never forgotten that shit, man. I've never forgotten that shit. That Breakfast Club shit don't impress me, man. All up on the Breakfast Club and shit, man. I remember when that kid was fucking talking shit, man. And by the way, that Superman song, man, you could sell hundreds of zillions of albums, bro, but that shit was whack, dog. That shit, this Superman, the woody, whoa, come on, man, fuck all that noise, bro. For real, you're gonna drop that shit and then you're gonna turn around because you made some coins. You're gonna turn around and talk shit to a fucking legendary, fucking ultra legendary MC, Ice-T, bro. Like, how fucking dare you, dude? That's the same shit that fucking Migos did, man. And there's no credibility there. They have, man, as far as I'm concerned, Migos has no fucking credibility, man. And that shit that Soulja Boy did, man, suggests in my mind, no fucking credibility, bro. Like, that's my fucking opinion. Because when you come out with some whack-ass song, Superman, da woody whoa, Superman, da woody whoa, and then you're like, yeah, by the way, fuck this ultra legend Ice-T and his son. I'm like, really, dude? Fuck you. I'm tuning out of your whack shit. Song was whack. Hey, man, I give you props for one reason. You have business savvy with the internet marketing and you know how to make money. But that song was fucking garbage, bro. You and I both know that shit was garbage. Yes, it worked for you financially, but lyrically, no fucking skills, bro. At least that particular track. And the fact that you were talking shit about Ice-T, bro, I ain't even heard any of your shit since then. Like, I tuned out of you, bro. Like, ever since that shit. So I ain't even heard your albums beyond that one fucking song that you did, bro. I heard you bought a fucking plane. I saw that shit on TMZ, and TMZ was like, yo, why would you buy a plane, bro? Like most people that are famous, they just rent that shit, or they, you know what I mean? Like, why would you spend all that money? Like, that could have been spent on, like, feeding children that are starving and eating out of trash cans and dumpsters in neighborhoods where they can't afford food and shit, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, and you bought a fucking plane? And that's another thing, man. I've never been icy, man. I've never worn, like, any kind of jewels that are, like, dripping with fucking diamonds and shit, because that shit is tacky to me, bro. Like, look, I like Tekashi 6ix9ine. I like the way that he presents himself, and I like the way that he moves and he maneuvers and operates. I like his business savvy. That dude is gifted, okay? But I'm gonna be honest, though. Even so, I don't like the ice shit, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, the ice shit don't work with me, man. I'm not wired that way. I must be, like, hybrid, like, part, like, gray alien or some shit. Because, bro, for real, I'm not moved by diamonds, man. That shit don't impress me. You know what I'm saying? I've never in my lifetime, like, even when I was a kid and I had, like, some little gold and shit, right? I mean, bro, like, I was like, fuck diamonds. Like, that shit's bullshit. Like, I'll just have a gold chain, man, and a little gold fucking men's earring and shit, and a gold, some little gold men's, like, bracelet and shit. And I don't even wear men's jewelry anymore, man. I ain't worn men's jewelry in like 20 fucking 5 going on 30 years. When I see niggas dripping in fucking ice and shit, trying to be icy and flossy and saucy and all that shit don't move me. I'm like, that shit's whack, bro. Like, that, like, okay, you took $1 zillion and put it on some pendant and now you're wearing that shit around the streets. Like, bro, why don't you just take your ass to school and get a motherfucking a certificate in like IT or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Take your ass to some type of like Ivy League school if you got that kind of money. Because motherfuckers would die to get into a school like Yale and Stanford and fucking wherever, man, Penn, and, you know, any top school, man, Columbia, Cornell, fucking NYU, you know, wherever, man, UCSD. I mean, you know, these might not be top schools in your mind, but I'm just saying Princeton, Harvard, whatever, man, any fucking good school, man. University of Washington, some kids, man, sadly, they can't even get into it because they don't have a high enough GPA. University of Washington's a good school. By the way, I used to rock Huskies gear. How could I fucking forget? I cannot. I used to rock Washington State Huskies gear, the purple with the W, man. That was my shit for a long time. And plus, when my mother, man, was in the military, she went to Alaska. She used to go to, when she would go to Alaska annually for many years in a row, she was either in Juneau, Valdez, Anchorage, or Ketchikan. She kind of alternated between those 4 different places in Alaska. And she brought me back the stuffed husky dog who I named Jeffrey. And that was my fucking stuffed animal friend, bro, for many years when I was a little boy. And so, man, the husky with the Washington State, and plus I was at the University of Washington, man, when I was a kid, tested for high IQ at the University of Washington on official record. So I was at the University of Washington when I was 4 years old in the psychology department being tested for high IQ. And so, man, and plus I had a relative who worked at the University of Washington for 35 years. And my buddy, who's a DJ who I grew up with, who was in the gifted program. Okay. My friend who I grew up with from childhood, who was in the gifted program. He was a student later down the road at the University of Washington and got hired at Microsoft, man. He was one of the first young cats to get hired at Microsoft, man. And he's a computer programmer by trade and software developer, computer programmer. And I'm talking about actual computer programming, microcode architecture of computer programming lines of code. And from way back in the day, man, he and I and my cousin, man, that was my first DJ, man. DJ Slow-Mo. DJ Slow-Mo and my cousin Rizzo, my biological cousin Rizzo, and I, Once Grove, OSGOE, we all used to program together as kids, man. We used to program together. We used to do the procedural code, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 on down lines of code and inline run type shit. And we used to play around with different codes, man, and build different software programs and whatnot way fucking back in the day. And then my boy took it to the next level when he was in college at the University of Washington and he got hired at Microsoft. He worked for a lot of companies, started his own company and shit. And man, now he travels the world and shit. And with the famous, legendary hip hop rap artist from right here, New York. And but I'm not going to impinge upon my homeboy's confidentiality and whatnot. But that was my first DJ, man. My homeboy from childhood who was in the gifted program. My homeboy DJ Slow-Mo. So, yeah, man. So he was at the University of Washington. And then my homeboy from my neighborhood, he looked like Pierce Brosnan. If you saw him, you'd be like, damn, dude, do look like Pierce Brosnan. He graduated from the University of Washington, got a degree in, by the way, my homeboy from childhood from the same neighborhood, Riverside. He was a wrestler. He got a scholarship to wrestle. And so he wrestled and did that. And then my other friend who, like I said, he's married, wife, kids. He had been in Madison for a while. He was in Wisconsin teaching at the university there when I was in Chicago. So I went to Chicago. He went to Wisconsin, which I had been in Wisconsin as well. He got his PhD, and I was at his ceremony, his graduation ceremony. His father's a lawyer, and his father's female companion at the time. I believe they got married, unless I'm inaccurate about that. But nonetheless, we were all the 4 of us at my homeboy's graduation ceremony at Husky Stadium. And I used to party in the Husky Stadium, the little valley down behind it. I used to party there, man, at some pubs with the homie and whatnot, man. We drink up, some pints and whatnot. And I used to go and walk around the campus, as an adult with some of my friends and stuff, we'd be down in the area, and I was with an IT Goonie squad. So the Goonie crew that I used to work with when I became a government defense contractor, we used to be down there off 45th Street, I believe it was, man. And so we used to chill down in the U District, as it's called, or was called back then, the U District. And man, we used to be down and around the campus like all the time. So man, I always rocked the Huskies gear, man. And I used to watch Huskies games, and my homeboy, I know many people that have played for the Washington State Huskies. I have a relative who was a football player who played for the Washington State Huskies. He's an anesthesiologist. I also have a gentleman who is he's a counselor, youth counselor, and gang interventionist. He played for the Washington State Huskies. He's the one that gave me a letter of reference when I signed up for the U.S. Peace Corps, because I worked with him myself as a gang interventionist, and he's a former football player for the Washington State Huskies. Plus, one of my homeboys who I went to school with, who was actually in summer school with me, because we were, fucking wilding out and shit, and we were like, damn, we got to go to summer school now. He actually got his shit together, man, and he went on. His family, they're from Florida originally. He went to Washington, University of Washington, played for the Huskies, man, and won the bowl. They won the Rose Bowl, and they won the Rose Bowl, and he's got the ring for it. And so, man, I've always been akin to the UW, as that. Oh, and we also used to record music in the basement, man. In one of the fraternities, my homeboy who I told you was in the gifted program, he was in a fraternity there, and he had equipment that I helped him finance, and that was a $3,300 keyboard, the ASR 10, and we used to record with loot money from CMM. That's also a division of CA, that's Criminal Alliance, and he used to record with us in the basement, man, at the UW with the homie Aaron and Scoot and Rosendo. That's right, Rosendo was there too. And so yeah, man, we were all at the University of Washington, man. I was not a student there. I have taken some online courses through the University of Washington, but as a formal student, no. But I've had friends who have attended, and I always supported the Washington State Huskies team by rocking the gear. Can't forget about the purple with the W, man. That's my team. Oh, and then also when I was in the Oakland Bay area, I used to wear the Oakland A's gear. I also had the Oakland A's gear, and that was pretty fresh. That was fresh. Oh, and Angels, and also Angels, and yeah, man, I used to rock so much gear, hooded sweat jackets, man, parkas, Gore-Tex. I had the Gore-Tex gear because, in the Northwest, man, they think it rains more than anywhere else in the world, even though in New York and Florida on the East Coast, it rains 42 to 44% more than it does in the Seattle area. But, you can't tell Seattleites that, man, because they've got that urban legend going, man, among themselves that, no one's ever showed them the hard data like, yo, man, check it out. Actually, it doesn't rain more in Seattle than it does. They just have led themselves to believe that over generations. But yeah, it actually rains 42 to 44% more here than it does in Seattle. That is a fucking statistical fact for those who didn't know. So the next time someone's like, yeah, well, I'm from Seattle, and it rains more in Seattle than it does anywhere else, you just be like, yeah, no, it actually does not. It absolutely does not. Sorry, Seattleite. No disrespect, but that is untrue. Totally non-factual. And here's the scientific, empirical, hard data to substantiate my statement to you. But yeah, man, I don't dislike Seattle, man. I ain't got no hate for Seattle. A lot of things have changed in that area. Traffic's more fucked up, I've heard, in that part of the country than anywhere else as of 2018. So worst traffic in America. Don't quote me on that, year 2018. I think a lot of that has to do with tech, man. Amazon being, and different companies that flock when you've got the phenomenon of Amazon and other tech companies are like, oh, well, Amazon's there and these other tech companies I've heard through speculation are going there. We need to take our tech company there too. Next thing you know, you got all these small towns that historically have been cow pastures, essentially. And now all of a sudden you've got strip malls going up, fucking high-end luxury apartments and condos and everything, you name it, gentrification, yada, yada, yada. And fucking it's on and popping like San Jose. And I've heard South Carolina is now like a major fucking tech hub in America. So is Kentucky. And apparently Tennessee. And so is like Columbus, Ohio is about to be on and popping as well. And so you got these towns, man, in America where, like in Detroit, man, used to, the Rust Belt and Motown and all this kind of stuff, man. By the way, I've heard that Cincinnati has a major economic revival underway or soon to be, and that it's gonna be on and popping in fucking Cincinnati. Man, I used to watch that show WKRP in Cincinnati. That show was dope, bro. I love that fucking show, man, growing up and shit. Back in the day when the world was a lot more innocent, fucking Love Boat, Happy Days, man, The Price is Right, Hollywood Stars, all this kind of stuff, man. I'm talking about stuff that these post-millennials, they have little to no reference and shit. The original Westworld, I'm talking about the original Westworld movie, which I watched not too long ago, by the way, in addition to the new Westworld. I was like, yo, I'm going to watch the old junk. It was weird watching Westworld again as an adult. It was actually far darker watching it as an adult than it even was when it was a nightmare as a child. As an adult, it was like, damn, that shit is fucking sinister, man. Like, man, I haven't seen this movie since I was like 4.5 years old. And now, man, shit, I'm almost half a century old and shit, and fucking watching this shit, man, this is still a fucking nightmare movie. That Westworld shit is a trip. And then watching the actual show, the new modern version of it, which is made into a series, dude, that shit is a trip, brethrens. Wow. But yeah, for real. So those are the topics, man, that I've touched upon on this show. I've talked about the recording process, studios, how they function to operate, how I record, how I don't really mix anything down on the podcast. I've talked about my different publications, the book that I've penned, DJ with an Uzi, which is out, which can be bought, paperback version. The Audible is available online, i.e. Audio book narrated by yours truly, Once Grove. The albums that we've produced in professional recording studios, the different compilation albums, the singles, my Reverb Nation page, which I've been consistently top 40 for the past going on 36 months now. Which, I mean, I always tell people, I'm like, hey, man, you might not like my style. You might not like how I deliver my raps. Like, you might be like, Grove, you're rhyming off time. Yeah, maybe I am. But so is Master P. And look at the empire that Master P built. Man, I had all of Master P. When I was in the Bay Area, and then I went to the Northwest, and then I went to Chicago. Before I went to Chicago, I had all the Master P shit that he ever put out. I listened to all the Master P fucking projects that he released, man. I had all of his cassette tapes. Every fucking one of them that were in stores. I used to go and buy cassettes. I've talked about this too, man, how I used to go. And, man, I have garbage bags, like hefty bags is what I mean, filled with cassette tapes that I would imagine will be worth a fortune very soon in the near future. Because, dude, I've got some tapes, man, that I'm guessing were made and printed in limited numbers. And maybe y'all never really thought about that. Maybe you got a tape store in town where you can still get some old school shit. But I'm telling you, man, a lot of people have thrown out their tapes, man. I've got hefty bags filled with cassette tapes. And I had all the very first Master P stuff that he ever released. And bro, I'm letting you know straight up, like, I like Master P a lot. Like, that dude is a savvy, smart, brilliant businessman. His first albums, dude, he was not rapping on time a lot of times. He just wasn't. And the beats didn't even sound right either. I still liked the fact that he was doing it. I was like, yo, I see what he's trying to do. And fuck, look, man, over what, $600 million plus now? What is it, 900? Like, has he cleared $1 billion? Maybe he has. Fucking that dude was smart, man. So, when you're like, hey, man, Grove, man, I'll be hearing some of your raps and stuff, and I see what you're trying to do. But, man, sometimes, man, it seems like you don't be rhyming on time. It's like, maybe I'm not. But, yo, the point is, man, it's my style, man, and it's what I do. And nonetheless, however I've been doing it, out of fucking millions of rappers in the world, somehow, man, I, along with 495, we managed to stay in the top 40 on Reverb Nation in New York for more than 36 months now, man, quite consistently. And I'm not paying for advertising, man. That's the other thing. A lot of these motherfuckers pay for advertising. Now, keep in mind, in the past, for various different projects, yes, I paid for advertising. For this particular past quarter, man, I ain't been paying for advertising, and somehow, man, the other day we were number 7, went up to we were number 6. We were number 6 for 3 days in a row, man, now that I think about it. And I've been with 495, we've been number 5 on Reverb Nation, and we were also number 5 in the whole United States on mp3.com. We were number 5. That is, I just wrote it down, number 5 in America, i.e. the United States of America. We were number 5, man. And that's why we were getting telephone calls and sponsorship from major companies like J. Walter Thompson, which in the past has represented Miller Genuine Draft. We were sponsored by Miller Genuine Draft, MGD Gold. Yeah, that's true, man. So a lot of people didn't know that. We got paid from J. Walter Thompson, MGD, Miller Genuine Draft. We got paid for that. And Microsoft has run campaigns where it's used our content for some of its campaigns, and other major corporations and other companies and shit like that. So if Master P can rhyme off time and make a fortune, shit, I can rhyme off time and make a fucking fortune too, man. It's all about energy and how you project your energy. That's really what it's about, man. I got some beats in the background, what I'm saying, that I've paid for. I've got some beats in the background, some fresh instrumentals, and I'm rapping, man. Rap means to talk, so I'm talking. If it's not on time in the way that you want it to be, hey, man, it's still a rap. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm still rapping, I'm still talking, and I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm doing me, man. Just like, Master P did him. So, it's the same thing, man. I mean, I draw from different business models. Too Short's business model, Ice-T's business model, Esham, A. Smith, the Unholy Poets business model, Master P, his business model, and other cats, man, that I saw how they did it. And I'm like, yo, okay, I like that element, this element, that element, okay, boom. This is my blueprint. You feel me? These are my schematics. This is how we're doing it. Because it's a movement, man. It's a style, and it's our style, and it's 495. So, and it's not just me, man. It's a lot of people, man. So yeah, that's what we talk about on the show. We talk about current events. Saw the thing with Tekashi yesterday and the strategy with regard to his attorney and how they did not apparently, according to sources, even request the bond hearing for the 22nd, as it was previously thought among folks that would be the case. And so, just as Jimmy Jams has been talking about, who I follow, by the way, shout out to Jimmy Jams, show, dope show, check it out, man. I like it. I see what he's doing, man, and I support that by giving a shout out and by watching on YouTube. I like how he say, why don't you go ahead and kung fu chop that like and subscribe. I like that. That's funny, man, and I like that. But I don't ask anybody to subscribe to my show, and I'm not saying that he ain't doing the right thing. I'm saying I never do. I do it differently, because the way I do it is I like organic likes. There are numbers that say all you need is 1,000 followers to make a shitload of money on social media. You don't need hundreds of thousands or millions necessarily to make big dollars on social media. All you need is 1,000 fucking subscribers, followers. And from that, there's math where you can then market t-shirts, ball caps, merchandise, coffee mugs, posters, you fucking name it. The whole shebang. You can do that with 1,000 subscribers. Now check game, man. My material, along with 495s, is on more than 10,000 websites worldwide. On Reverb Nation, I have over 2,000 fans on Reverb Nation alone. That's just one fucking website. Okay? I got on to Twitter slow, and I just started getting on to Twitter like in the past year, like here and there. Okay? With different identities and shit. But you feel me? Like I wasn't on Twitter. Like I already had 10,000 connections on MySpace back in the day. Like over 10 fucking thousand. And then when that Wayne shit came along, same deal, man, across the board. Obviously, they closed down, shut down. The shit was bulky and had bugs and shit. But I liked it for the time that it lasted. But I'm just saying, LinkedIn, 5,000, fucking, various other accounts, thousands. So that's the idea, man, is I play the underdog role in the social media sphere. And I already have over 1,000 subscribers on just one fucking site, and go ahead and multiply that times 10,000 plus other sites. See, that's my business model. You see, that's my business model. That's how I do it. And that's what the math was saying, is that that's really all you need. So I like organic likes where people like my shit without me asking them to like my shit. You see what I'm saying? So like I get fans by not even asking them to like or subscribe to my shit. Okay? So I got to be doing something right in that business equation, in the business model of modality of it all. So it's not like, man, there is no method to the madness, which is a track that I actually produced with Loot Money, and it's called The Method to My Madness by Loot Money. I was the executive producer of that project, and I actually paid for that and marketed that along with Desmond. And we did that together, man, as a co-op. And also the Greenback Hustlers did that too, spearheaded that. And so yeah, man, I've been behind a lot of fucking projects, man, a lot of albums as an executive producer and also rapper. And my business model is the underdog business model. And I mean, we keep getting new fans, man. And we have thousands of fans, man. And we're on 10,000 plus web pages. We got the podcast. I mean, look, man, I'm not asking people to listen to the show, but they are, and they're downloading the show. They're downloading the show. So if you look at the math of it all, at some point, that becomes exponential. It becomes exponential mathematics, exponentially so. And I meant that intentionally to be redundant. But you see, the point is that over time, your 1,000 fans turns into 10,000 fans, turns into 100,000, then over 1 million. So you really only need 1,000 because it's inevitable, invariably so, that invariable that more and more fans will continue to add and play and like and download. And if you don't even put yourself out there, if you don't even have a presence in the blogosphere, in the social media sphere, if you're not even doing this shit that we're doing with 495, then you ain't getting likes, you ain't getting plays, you ain't getting subscribes, you ain't getting any of that shit. But we've been at it, man. We've been at it for fucking over 20 fucking 5 years now, man. That's a quarter of a century. And, ultimately, man, it all pays off. So that's why we be at it, man. That's why we be at this content. That's the entire nature of this show. Because, I mean, shit, I'm making money on this show. Multiply that times all the math, and it works out, man. So thanks for tuning in. I'm your boy, Once or Grove.